Welcome to the Burnham Brothers Jiu-Jitsu podcast, which is myself, Luke, Cooper, and my younger son, Cooper's younger brother, Bodie, who's actually homeschooling at the moment, so he couldn't be involved in this one.
Right, okay. How old is the youngest?
He's 15.
Oh, okay.
He's, juvie blue as well.
Cooper, how old are you now?
19, 20 in a few months.
Okay. I guess when I met you, you were like 15 or 16 or something, right?
16 we did a
Yeah,
pod.
man. Wow.
Yeah. This podcast brought to us by Cartel Los Angeles, who, a brand that we're both involved with someone you know very well, Cedric.
Cedric, yeah. Is that brand getting big out there?
Yeah, it's getting bigger. So it's been good. It's just, it's a work in progress. It's always hard to compete against the big brands that have plenty of cash, but, we do what we do.
Awesome. Yeah.
So welcome, Clark. I'll just go through a few of your stats to start with. So a lot of them: Pan champion, No-Gi Masters 1 champ, US National Pro champ, UAE Grand Slam champ, American Nationals champion, multiple placings at Worlds. The list goes on. And also what I wanted to thank you for was, before we mentioned about Cedric, was you did a private with Cooper, like you were saying, when he was 15, I think it was, at Absolute. On Cooper's second trip to America, my first, I messaged you about a good place to train, and you said, check out Cedric's. That's where he's an affiliate of mine. So we went there, and since then we've become great friends with Cedric and Roxana. Coop stayed there the last 2 times that he's been to America, stayed at their house and done all that. So we want to thank you for that, because without you telling us to go there, we wouldn't have gone there, and that's where we go now. We base ourselves out of there every time we go there. So thank you.
That's very convenient, right? Close to the Pan Am location.
Yeah.
Right in the center.
Yeah, it was cool. So we'll get into it. So how are you? How is quarantine in San Diego?
Well, it's definitely slowed down, especially in the beginning. In the middle of maybe like 3 weeks ago, it felt like ghost town, and jiu-jitsu, unfortunately, is like the last thing that people can even think about doing in groups. So, it's forced me to explore other ways to share jiu-jitsu, which has been interesting, because I got a lot more experience with just being in front of the camera and just how to share different things, building my YouTube and following and just creating more content. So it's been cool in that way, but definitely missing the social aspect and the group, the friends. I think that's a huge part of it. Just kind of like letting out some steam, sweat, just talk with your buddies and the toxins from your body, and come out of there feeling loose, feeling good, feeling your body's been worked and helps you rest, whatever, like everyone has different benefits from it, but definitely missing all that.
So it's a whole package, isn't it? The jiu-jitsu gives you. It's not just, it's the social side, it's your friendships, it's everything that we're not getting while this is got control of the world, which is, it's a shame.
Yeah. How about for you guys?
We're the same. Like I've got a gym in the country town where I live in Mildura. And we had to close down probably 5-6 weeks ago now. We're lucky in the sense that Cooper came home. He's been living with us for the last 6 weeks while their gym in Melbourne closed. So there was no use in being down in Melbourne. So we've been lucky in the sense that there's at least the 3 of us home that we can train together in isolation. So we're still getting our roles and stuff in, but we miss everyone from the gym. And it's just, it's a real shitty situation, to be honest.
It's true. It's tough. But I feel like Australia hasn't been affected that much, right? From what I see, the stats compared to other countries.
The stats are really good here. Our government went into a pretty hard lockdown pretty early, closing gyms, social distancing, no gatherings over a certain amount of people. They went really hard really early. And so far, I think the country as a whole has only had just under 7,000 people with the disease, and only under 100 have died. So we're lucky that they went hard and shut us all down, I suppose. But it's not easy though.
Yeah.
It was very unexpected. Like, my gym was one of the first things to close, and like at one point it was kind of like, oh, we're going to look at closing maybe in a few weeks. Then like 2 days later, they're like, nah, we're shutting the gym down. Like, we can't risk anything. It's just shut it all down.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was with me. I started hearing about the possibility of having to close the school, and I was like, or that I should close the school. It's the responsible thing to do. And I talked to other academies in the area about it. I talked to Leticia Ribeiro over here, and she was asking me, "Are you going to close your school? What are you going to do?" I was like, "Well, I'll see how it goes." And like, sure enough, like the next day, I had to announce like tomorrow is going to be our last day. So,
it's hard, isn't it? Because you feel bad if you sort of feel bad if you don't do it, even though we did it before the government forced a shutdown too, but it's on your conscience if you don't do it. If someone gets sick at your gym, you think, geez, is that my fault? Should I have done that earlier?
Yeah, it's crazy times, but hopefully flatten the curve and come back, with a little bit more attention to hygiene and
yeah.
I think just in general hygiene, like people sometimes I feel, especially when you travel, different countries have different cultures or customs of how often to wash their hands and what's considered clean and what's not.
Yep.
I end up traveling a lot, so I see like different ways to compare, and hopefully the whole world will kind of like step up and
a wake-up call to the whole world.
Yeah, if nothing else, it's a wake-up call, right, for the future of viruses, and we just be a little bit more attentive of that, stay on the alert. So
that gets me probably onto our next subject. Is there's been a lot of talk over here from different people that with this shutdown on that solo drills for jiu-jitsu are useless. Do you agree with that, or is that something that you think is still viable?
Solo drills?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think we have to do, right? We don't have too much choice, I mean, I feel like me as an instructor, I'm sending out videos to my students and hoping that they have somebody to train with. But if they don't, then, it just comes down to that, it comes down to basically posting a workout. I've been even posting my workouts. I feel like I've become a personal trainer, because I'm like, okay, I got to stay in shape. So I'm going to do this. And then, well, I might as well record it and tell everybody what I'm doing. And they can do it hopefully themselves at home and stay in shape so that when the quarantine is over, we can go back and train. We're not terribly out of shape and, kind of maintain some kind of a rhythm. But yeah, I think, solo drills can be a great way. And maybe it's a good time for like, especially the more fundamental classes, the white and blue belts, to brush up on their movements, their understanding of those kind of just the fundamental movements of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, 100%.
Clean that stuff up.
So we'll move on to what was it like for you growing up with the last name Gracie? Was there pressure? Was there did you feel pressure coming into competitions or training, or that you had to live up to anything? What was it like?
Yeah, all the time, man. Definitely. Both in Brazil and in the US. I mean, there was, UFC was kind of starting to gain popularity. It started in mid 90s, right? And then by 2000, the year 2000, it was getting more popular. I was in high school, and yeah, I mean, I have a few stories where like I was like challenged, and some fun times. People ask, "What's your hobbies?" and I talk about jiu-jitsu, and then here it goes, Or even a teacher would be like, "What's your name?" I get your something, your paper or your name tag or whatever it is, and then here's the name Gracie, and it's a guy that's watched UFC. He's like, "Gracie, like Hoist Gracie." So you're like so tired of like so many people asking. I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. And then he thinks I don't even know what he's talking about. Like that happened to me before. And yeah, I had a really cool teacher at one point when I was like, I think 14 or 15, that allowed like me and one of the biggest guys in the school, like just cleared out the tables and let us just like go at it after school. not MMA, but just like wrestling, you know. And that was fun.
Who won?
Yeah, I ended up choking him out. I remember it was a big dude, and I got on his back with Mataleon. He launched me off of the mount. He was really strong, you know. Like I mounted on him, he just like threw me a few times, but then I finally got to his back and put on a Mataleon choke. And then he stood up and then jumped back and slammed me.
Holy.
Oh, you know, like I was on his back, but I was just like, oh, I just took it, and then it's like, ah. And then it was like, you know, like all this, you know, popular like rumors and like.
Weren't challenged again, I'm assuming.
Well, I can't say I wasn't challenged again, but
Yeah.
but like, you know, the rumors spread, and you know, my dad has an academy too, so it's something that I would do every day after school.
Yeah.
I would just go to school, you know, and it become like a routine of life. You know, a lot of kids will think about, I think, what sport are they going to play? Football. Do you guys say soccer over there or football? I don't know.
Soccer.
Soccer, yeah. And then rugby or, you know, whatever place to play, tennis. And for me, it was just jiu-jitsu. I didn't really think about it. Like, oh, what sport am I going to play? What team sport? I mean, if it was during school, but after school activities, I just left it for jiu-jitsu. And, you know, I'm glad I did, but yeah, so that's a little different, you know, like you're already kind of like set with that. And, but you know, you got a lot of stories, you got a lot of, like people to look up to. I had a lot of people to look up to. And then like,
Yeah.
I actually felt a lot of pressure. I think a lot of like people my generation, because my father's generation, they were like the guys that, okay, they learned jiu-jitsu when no one knew jiu-jitsu. So they were pretty much like invincible, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
It was really hard for them to find anyone who would give them any trouble, you know? Like, imagine you, Cooper, right now, you know, being like my dad's generation in the family, and then like everyone is white belt, you know, or like white and blue belts, and like for you to like, it's just like, you know, easy for you, you know? So I think that's kind of like what my father and his generation grew up with. And so for us to hear like, oh, my uncle, my dad, my, you know, whatever is undefeated, that's crazy, you know?
Yeah.
For you to think about nowadays, like someone being undefeated, you know, in jiu-jitsu, sport jiu-jitsu, it doesn't exist, you know what I mean? Like,
No, that's right.
Unheard of.
so it's pretty hard to embrace that and get through that first little hump, and then understand that like, no, you know, when I lose, it's making me better, you know, I'm learning from it, I'm gonna improve from that experience, I'm gonna remember how I lost, and I'm gonna make sure it never happens to me again.
Yep.
And understanding that that's okay, you know. And all the great champions, a lot of times they have stories that, man, I used to suck, I used to get beat by everybody, I used to get tapped all the time, and then they you know, figure out something clicks, right? And then
turn that corner and away you go.
no stopping them after that.
Yeah. So who were your idols growing up? Like, I'd imagine there was many of them through the family, but did you have any that weren't Gracies? Did you anyone that you looked up to, or just Gracies? It doesn't matter, whoever they were.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of my older cousins and uncles, you know, they were fighting at the time when I was like pretty young, you know, like 10, 12, you know, 13. They were starting the UFC and starting the
Yeah, that would have been
these
cool.
MMA competitions, you know. So like Henzo's generation, Henzo Alf, the early days of Pride, you know, those tournaments, all those guys that would fight. I thought that was pretty cool, you know, like looking at that, and then to know that like, oh, this event is happening, everybody wants to watch, and I'm like looking like, oh, this is my family member, you know. It brings me a little bit closer somehow, you know. And so
Yep.
And kind of like almost predetermined, like you're headed that direction too, you know.
Yep.
For me, you know, I felt like I'm going that way. But yeah, I think, you know, those guys. And then, you know, I always looked up to people, I think, that had, especially as an adult, I look up to people that have good energy, good attitude, that you know, aren't like super arrogant. You know, I kind of respect people's jiu-jitsu.
Yep.
But the people that are more natural, the people that have good character, good attitude, those are the people I look up to in jiu-jitsu. Because if you think about it, like, man, like you think about a bully, right? Think about a bully, man. Like that bully, he's gonna want to smash you, rub it in your face, say stuff say stuff that's like mean to you. Right? But what about like the guy that can beat up that bully and he doesn't say anything and he doesn't need to say anything? He's just humble. He's just cool about everything. You know, he's not trying to like show off or anything. Those are the guys that I would look up to more. You know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and actually in jiu-jitsu, it's not uncommon to find both, but it's not uncommon to find people like that where the guy is amazing, you know, technician and powerful on the mat, but kind of like because he's so powerful and probably because he receives, I imagine, because he receives so much praise, he kind of feels he doesn't need to show off or anything. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I think certain characters in jiu-jitsu, especially in the past few years, have starting to feel they need to build their image by talking, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, that's okay too. You know, like it makes it exciting. It makes it funny. It makes it, you know, maybe it's who they really are. Maybe it's not. Maybe they're just creating like a kind of a buzz, you know? But
that joins into another question I had further on down. There you go.
When you talk about characters that just do and don't talk, someone who comes to mind is Buchecha, someone who's like crazy good but portrays himself and seems to be really a humble person.
Yeah, he seems to be a humble guy, you know, good attitude, treats everybody cool. You know, I've heard really good things about him. I've met him briefly a few times, you know, so guys like that, you know, you look at like, you know, I don't know, you know, it's hard for me to say because some guys I don't know personally like super well, but some guys, you know, they just kick ass and they just keep going and they, you know, don't put on like this, they don't rip their gi open like, you know, a huge celebration, you know, they just kind of like, the other day, here we go. I thought it was kind of cool. I saw, I think it was Paulo Miao interview, and in the interview, they were asking him like something. I think it was ADCC. They're saying, "What if you lost? If you won, how would your reaction be different? How would your next day would be different?" And he said, "Wouldn't change. You know, I just go back to the mat the next day and back to work. You know." And he was like, "What about the crowd? The crowds that are cheering for you? You know, how does that affect you if there's, you know," and he's like, "I don't care. I just zone out," you know? And like, he's just serious and just, you know, straight with it. And it's, he's just so focused, you know, the guy's like a samurai, you know,
he's 110 business, 110% business, isn't he?
Those guys, you know, they're champions for a reason, you know, I think they deserve it because they just really put their whole life into it. Their whole life revolves around that, and there's people like that. And you know, you think about it, it's really a sacrifice, you know, like you guys, you know, certain people, I don't know about you guys, probably you live a balanced life, you know, you have the benefits of being in good shape and having jiu-jitsu in your life and everything, but you also have fun doing other things. You know? And you find some of these jiu-jitsu guys now that are just obsessed, and they're going to be amazing if they're not already amazing, but some of them, they don't really have anything else that they want to do. They don't have, or any other desire, or somehow they're just so focused, you know. And it's amazing, you know, like those guys deserve it for sure.
So over the last few years with jiu-jitsu, I think everyone's noticed the amount of trash talking, shit talking, whatever you want to call it, has come into the game in certain areas. Do you agree with it? Do you think there's a place for it? Do you think you'd rather not see it? What are your thoughts on it?
I kind of think in a way it's becoming like pro wrestling, you know, in a way that those guys, they want to, like I said, they want to create their name through what they say, you know, and some of them, they might not even mean it. They just want to
build that audience,
create the hype, sell the fight, get more viewers. And I understand that, but I also respect the guys like, you know, let's say Georges St. Pierre, who he never felt the need to do that. You know, I think that's something that's way more prominent in MMA, right? It started probably before, but I remember first being like with Chael Sonnen, man, like the guy talks so much and said so much stuff to make people riled up and upset with him, you know. And then Conor McGregor, right? Like huge. And then it started in the jiu-jitsu community as well with, I don't know, you know, I don't really follow that, what's the truth, but like Dylan Dennis and and AJ Agazarm, you know, like these, you know, characters like that where they're just like, you know, and they're both tough, you know, really tough guys. Like all the guys that are out there, they're tough, but you know, some of them they talk way more than,
Yeah, exactly.
I think they really need to. And you know, I don't know. Sometimes, to tell you the truth, I even suspect that some of these guys may have even hired someone to run their social media for them, and it might not even be them talking.
And that wouldn't surprise me in this day and age.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, like there are some certain guys, you know, that I think I've heard that are really cool in person, but when you see what they say online, like really disrespectful stuff, you know, very kind of low class, and you know, and people want to see it though. They're like, oh man, he said that. What's other guy gonna say? You know?
Yeah.
So it's it brings attention to jiu-jitsu one way or another, but you know, it's okay. You know, it's not a beautiful thing to do, I don't think, or a thing that everybody needs to do, but you know, it just depends on the person. It's fine.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's that.
Yeah.
Just going back, talking about like the Gracies and things like that. Have you heard of the film coming out by Robert Drysdale, Close Guard? It's called. I was wondering if you know about it and your thoughts on that. Just out of curiosity.
Man, that reminds me that Robert Drysdale, who is it like a documentary or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he was telling me that he wanted to interview my dad, and my dad was the first one to come to America. It's like maybe the first one to leave
really?
Brazil, start teaching jiu-jitsu. Yeah, Cartel Gracie, and I remember he wanted to interview him, and I don't know, they didn't connect, you know. So now I'm like thinking like like would have been cool if my dad had some influence in that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, so I did hear about it being produced. I didn't know it was ready to come out yet.
It's not gonna, I don't think it's going to come out until summer winter in America. I think it is.
Yeah.
Later this year. I think he was considering to show it at World Masters, but no, I don't think World Masters is going to be on. So probably even be released later.
Mm. Yeah. No, I'm disappointed my dad didn't get a piece of that, because that's cool to see it coming out. But yeah, I look forward to seeing it for sure. You know, there's a lot of really cool documentaries out there, and you know, I think it's important that I think it's interesting, and I think it's important for people to remember the history of our art. You know, like where it came from, and the evolution of it, and recognize it, because a lot of people get into jiu-jitsu right now, you know, and they know what's happening now. They know what's happening in the sport right now, but they don't really, you know, some schools nowadays, they don't even have a picture of Elio or Carlos Gracie on the wall, you know. And I think that's like, you don't go into any legit judo school and there's not a picture of Jigoro Kano, you know?
Yeah.
Right? So like, I feel like every school should have a picture of Carlos Gracie and Elio Gracie, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I sort of find, I don't want to like pigeonhole anyone in particular or anything like that, but I think a lot of the new age sort of more sports jiu-jitsu people don't take the history of jiu-jitsu into account as much as they probably should.
They don't have a lot, like as much respect as what they should, especially because those are the people that, you know, form jiu-jitsu. That without them, you wouldn't have jiu-jitsu today. So pretty important to respect people that created it and made it what it is today.
Yeah, not even just the creators, right? But the people that you know, you have to credit the people like the second generation, because they represented jiu-jitsu when it was time to like see what's the best martial art out there, right? Like Hoyce's generation, Henzo's generation, my father's generation, you know, like that whole time, like my father's generation, like that started, even Carlson, right? Carlson, he didn't create jiu-jitsu, but he was the first guy to say, you want to test jiu-jitsu? I'm here. Let's do this. You know, let me show you, you know? And Elio, of course, was, I think, the number one, the first guy. Carlos learned in Japanese. Carlos Sr. taught to his brother Elio. Elio started fighting, you know, his other brothers, George, also were fighting to defend the not the Gracie name necessarily, but the name for jiu-jitsu, you know? And yeah, it was amazing, the history, you know, and then Hickson, you know, for a long time. Hall is before Hickson. And having these challenge matches, then I think he really started getting gaining attention when it came to the U.S. and Horian created UFC and doing those garage matches, you know, that we've seen like clips of, and Gracie in action videos.
Yep.
You know, so
I'm a big fan of the history of jiu-jitsu. My actual professor, like I'm under a different professor than Kuba. As you know, Kuba's under Tiago Stefanuti. I'm actually under Tiago Ferreira from Central Coast.
Shark.
And the shark.
Yeah.
And I'm always forever learning off him about the history of jiu-jitsu. He loves the history, and it's great. I love hearing about it.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. I like Thiago a lot, man. I miss coming out there to Australia. You got to come back.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
I've got a gym that will host you. Ours.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait. I would love to check it out.
No, that'd be cool. So, couple of questions to finish up on. First one, do you like or despise being called the best-looking grappler?
Well, like that nickname, I often like correct people because like the real name that came up was most photogenic jiu-jitsu guy, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's photogenic, you know, let the other guys be. You know, it's kind of funny because I had just won Pan Ams. It was 2013, and I won the adult division middleweight black belt, and I was like on that high of, you know, just winning that tournament, and then the next day there was this meme out, you know, from a tournament the year before in New York, and then I was getting all this attention from the picture. But I was like, oh, that's cool. But like, I want attention because I won, you know.
Yeah.
I won that fight. That's cool. But I wanted the attention from the Pan Am win, you know.
Yep.
And the other thing that was funny about that was because a lot of people that aren't jiu-jitsu educated, like I went on Good Morning America TV show, and one of the hosts, that was there, the girl, she said like, oh, you look so relaxed and you're getting slammed or something, you know. But I had an Omoplata on the guy, like I was seconds away from finishing it. She thought I was getting my ass beat, you know, like I was getting, like thrown on the floor. So I was like, no, I really got to explain this. Like, no, it's a shoulder block, you know. But no, I was like, well. So some people don't understand it, but no, it was a cool moment, you know. And some people said is pretty cool to bring jiu-jitsu to like the mainstream TV.
Yeah, that's right. It's it can be unfortunate, but yeah, it is an avenue that gets you out or gets the sport out into the mainstream. Probably not giving you the kudos you deserve for that Pan Am win.
Exactly. Yeah, I was kind of, and I started getting tired of it. I was like, I mean, I'm not gonna. I started getting tired of it a little bit. My dad said, no, like, you know, don't push the attention away. It's okay, you get attention for that, you know.
Yeah.
Like, well, I kind of like, I'd rather have the attention because of, you know, my finish. And actually that year I got submission of the year. I got submission of the year twice, and that was that finish that I got in that match, which was against Marcelo Mafra in 2013. It was the only submission at black belt finals and in all the finals in the division, all divisions, and in all the final matches, you know, like they had all the finals one after the other.
Yep.
And mine was the only submission that day, and it was an awesome submission. I got submission of the year. The guy passed out, you know, and I actually didn't even know he passed out, but yeah, it was cool.
Minor issue.
It was a good day, you know. It was a tough day, tough weekend.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of talk going on with the next ADCC coming up about the super fight, Gordon v Galvao, if that was to happen. Who would your pick be and why, if it was to go ahead?
I don't know. I think if I mean, Gordon has a lot more. Maybe, you know, he has his youth on his side. You know,
for sure.
Huge age gap.
Yeah, maybe his endurance could be better. You know, he doesn't have a family to think about. You know, like things like that. You know, these things. You know, I think they really do play a factor. You know, I have a son now, so
for sure.
And like things make a difference. But for sure, I mean, Galvao has proved that he can go out there and fight even under those circumstances. So I mean, I don't really doubt Galvao, and I think Galvao is really good, and amazing athlete. But Gordon, I think actually, I don't know Gordon personally. I know Galvão, and I think Galvão is really smart. Like he'll study guys, he'll pick it apart, he'll understand like all their strategy. He's very like methodical about all that, and he'll make it a science.
Yeah.
And I think Danaher is also that way. So it would be very interesting. Yeah, I mean their styles. They both like to take the back. Gordon is amazing when to get to the back. Like just like magic, and but I think Galvão, it's like really hard to do anything against Galvão. Like to really, I've seen Galvão get beat a handful of times, but very rare. Very rare. Like, it comes back strong. Gordon, I've seen him get beat too. In similar ways. But it would be a good match. I mean, I'm sure it'll cause a lot of attention for sure. And I believe there was some shit talk a little bit, right?
Oh,
already,
just a little bit.
Do you even think though Galvão will take the fight? Because really, he's coming up. I think then he'll be like nearly 40. I think he's 38 right now, and he's
even accepted, right?
Yeah, he's won everything. He doesn't need that match. It's Gordon who needs the match to show like, oh, I'm the GOAT. Like I feel like I don't know. Galvão doesn't really need the match. It's more like it'll be for the fans if he does take it.
Sure. I agree. Yeah. No, I don't think he needs it. He even said, I think in his last, some of his last fights, his last matches, I mean, he told me 2 years ago that he was going to retire, and I think the only fight he did after that was last year's ADCC. Yeah. And,
with Penna.
Yeah.
So, no, definitely. I don't think he needs to do it, and he probably doesn't look at it for the money, but I remember him saying one time when he was going to fight Calasanz in that same super fight event, he said, is that a problem? You're going to fight, your teammate for this title, for this fight, and he said, hey, for $40,000, I'll fight my own grandma.
That's good as.
So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, they say the money might not be important but deep down, like, it makes it, you really do think about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he would take it. It's a good point. He might not take it. It's a big chance he might just be like, nah, I'm good. Let, one of my other guys fight him,
Yeah. Wouldn't blame him either.
So we just got a few quick questions to finish off with, Clark, if you don't mind. I've got what we call the fast five, but then there's actually 7 questions. But they're quick ones. So favorite sub?
Sorry?
Favorite submission?
I go through phases, but like, I like, someone asked me one time, what's your fascination with the shoulder? Because I like everything to do with shoulder locks, Omoplatas, Kimuras, I love going for arm bars. I find like that, I think some people have satisfaction on certain submissions, right? You think like, what satisfies you when you get that submission? I like the cross choke a lot. I love that, but yeah, Omoplata is still like probably the most dynamic kind of like, and because it's so specific to me, like I think I do it probably better than anyone ever met.
Yep.
Like I feel like I've explored it in so much detail, so.
Oh, for sure.
I'm sure somebody will come out soon and if not already, like doing Omoplata is amazing and finish everybody. But I remember seeing so many people get an Omoplata and losing it, and I'm like, no, I see them just like letting it go for a sweep for 2 points. But yeah, I would still say Omoplata, or let's say I actually got submission of the year the second time in 2018 Nogi World Finals, and I finished the guy in what I call pretzel plata. So I have an Omoplata, but his leg is also inside. Yeah, so nowadays, that has become my favorite submission. It's like a branch off of the Omoplata.
Yeah, nice.
We were watching him fight at that Nogi Worlds.
Yep.
Yeah, we were watching.
Yeah. You were staying with Cedric, right? And,
no, Dad was there. We went for 2 weeks, and my brother came as well. But yeah, we were watching.
Okay.
Favorite opponent you've ever faced?
I don't know if I really have an answer for that. Like I'm not at the point where I feel like I'm not going to fight anymore. So I would say my favorite is always going to be the one that's to come, you know, like my next one, because I get excited for that next one. I don't, you know, the ones before just become like, you know, faded memories, you know, and, you know, I've had some like great battles, but I fought Otavio Souza 3 times, you know. I mean, I remember finishing some of those fights like just really gassed, and I just think like, man, what a battle. Like we both of us can like barely stand at the end, like get the arm raised, you know, but I had some really good battles with him that were fun. But yeah, lots, you know, but always like, I'm always excited to do the next tournament, always excited for the next super fight. So whoever's the next guy, that's the one I'm excited to do.
I like it. Favorite food?
Man, you know, when I go to Brazil and I eat acai, man, in Rio, it's like some kind of an addiction. I don't know if you guys have been there and tried it over there, but
we haven't been there. That's one thing we do want to do.
Yeah, definitely got to make a trip to the motherland at some point. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Try that acai, and you know, if you eat it like 2 days in a row, you'll probably be hooked, you know, and it'll feel like you have a new addiction, you know. Start have withdrawals when you leave to go home.
Yeah, cool. Favorite movie?
Not really sure. I don't really have a favorite movie, really. To tell you the truth.
That's all right.
The next one to come, right?
Yeah, let's say dry as
Gi or no gi?
I have different, you know, feelings about both. You know, like with the gi, I love like the details, right? There's so many details, the grips, the options, the unlimited options. But there's something beautiful about no gi too, and like, but you got to be ready to scrap for that. You know, you got to be ready to just bump heads, put in that mouthpiece, and go nuts. You know, like and just go at it like and it just feels like a lot more like a fight in a way. You know, whereas with the gi, you can slow things down if you want, but it's still it can be very intense and can be an amazing fight. But with the no gi, it just feels a little bit more like animalistic almost. You know, it's just start getting sweaty and it's just going fast, and it started, you know, the scrambles, and you know. But I wouldn't say I'm not in favor of people that say, oh, I don't like gi because, you know, this or that, or I don't like no gi because this and that. I think we should do both. You know, I think as martial artists, we need to understand both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
So I mean, typically I would say gi, but I've also maybe almost had more success in no gi, and I've had some great times in no gi too. So
yeah, cool. Last question to finish up on is tell us something people would be surprised to learn about you.
Well, I don't know. You know, I don't know if people really know me that well outside of like my circle, but you know, I guess I'm really like the things that I value, and I really value like the family of jiu-jitsu, and then coming home to my family. You know, like I really enjoy the family time, and just, you know, I don't know if it's something, you know, really people wouldn't know about me. I'm scared of like horror movies. That's one. I don't like watching horror movies. But you know, I just my values have become just like my family at the academy and my family at home, and like I think, you know, you make those things strong, and you're gonna, you know, you're gonna be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Which I'm sure you guys have that. You guys have that all in one.
Yeah.
Right? Your
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu family is your family.
Yeah, 100%. We're very lucky in that sense. Well, that's it from us. We won't keep you any longer. We really appreciate you giving us time out of your personal life and sharing the knowledge of jiu-jitsu and the knowledge of Clark Gracie, more about yourself and what it's like in San Diego at the moment with everything that's going on. And hopefully it's all comes to an end soon and we can get back to normal. And yeah, we'd love to have you out here for one of your seminar tours again and come to our gym. That'd be great. Get the shark down as well. And yeah, it would be good. But yeah, really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Right on, guys. Yeah, thank you. I look forward to seeing you guys either out there or out here. And you know, it's an honor to be on your first episode. And I hope all the best for it. And shout out to all the viewers out there and everyone watching. Thanks you guys for tuning in, and appreciate it, guys. Thanks a lot. If you guys want to learn more about my style or anything, I just put out my first instructional DVD with BJJ Fanatics. It's called Automatic Omoplata.
Oh, yep.
So that's the first one I've done with them. So yeah, check it out.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We'll I might find the link to that and put it in with our YouTube clip when we post that, so people can go to that and click straight on it and get onto the Automatic Omoplata. Was it called?
Yep, that's it.
Cool.
Yeah, BJJ Fanatics. And if you guys come to San Diego, I'd love to have you guys here. For you guys,
for sure. That's definitely something we want to do again. Is come and train at your gym, and Coop had a blast the other time he was there, and
he wasn't there though, unfortunately.
Yeah, you were doing a tour at the time, seminars and stuff, but we'll definitely be back there.
Yeah, for sure.
Was going to be this year until all this stuff happened, but maybe next year.
Yeah.
Hope so. Well,
all right,
you guys.
Thanks, Clark.
Thanks very much.
Take care. Keep training, and see you on the mat. Hopefully, sometime this year.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
cheers.
100%.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.